Kody always wants to pin the blame on somebody else, and that's really truly my opinion. He leaks like a sieve. He gossips more than anybody else in the whole entire family. He told me everything.
I know. What I've heard that he told you, I'm like, you know what? I wish I wouldn't have known that before.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I feel like he's always trying to place the blame somewhere else, is my opinion. You know, he's still very estranged from his children, which is a very hard thing.
But they have these things, I don't know if you've heard of them, but you put them up to your ear and you can actually talk to people. Oh, it's like this now.
Hi, friends. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Thursday, October 10th, 2024. Christine and Janelle have been on the circuit for interviews. I actually think they filmed these interviews a few weeks ago, but I don't know. Remember, they were in California on a trip together? Anywho, they were on an interview on Access Hollywood. It was a little bit weird, but kind of interesting, and then not a lot was disclosed. So just to start with the elephant in the room, there was not a single mention whatsoever about Garrison. There was no condolences offered by the person that interviewed. There was no mention of the tragedy in the family and the heartbreak that's happened. It's like it didn't even happen. Now, I understand that this season currently isn't talking about it, but it seems remiss to walk into an interview with something so heavy happening in the family and completely ignore it. This very well could have been a choice by Janelle and by Christine. They don't want to talk about it. It's going to make them upset. It's going to bring out feelings, or it's going to make it uncomfortable. But at the same time, it seems like the pattern in this family of kind of brushing things under the rug and going on with life and not answering those tough questions is sort of continuing. And my heart goes out to everyone in the family for the loss of Garrison. I just do hope in time there will be more reality checks here, because I don't know, part of me feels like some of these interviews that are being done right now are they're building a brand, they're protecting their brand and protecting the brand of the Sister Wives show, which includes their abusive ex-husband, and they are ignoring the large elephant in the room, which is the damage that has happened to the children. And it's very strange because in this interview, the woman from Access Hollywood, who again maybe was told by TLC she can't answer any questions, was asked about Kody's relationship with his kids. And it was like, they don't mention any names. They don't mention any issues that would have caused further division or further hurt with the family. And it's like Garrison didn't exist. I don't know, man. Like, I'm a mom. And as hard as my job would be to be on reality television, if I put myself in Janelle's shoes, if my son died and I had to go out and film, I can understand wanting to put on blinders, but at the same time, I think ignoring the child and that part of your life and talking about this other stuff without the acknowledgement of what happened, I don't think I could do that as a mom. I don't. I think I would at least want to be acknowledging it's been a rough few months and we're getting through things and we miss our son. Something simple like that. But it was the complete lack of discussion about Garrison that struck me the most. After I got over that, and I'm being honest, you guys, I'm trying to be honest here. I'm not trying to fly over things, because I definitely, my heart goes out to these women, but part of what they do in this cult is brush things under the rug and go on and act like nothing happens and ignore, deflect, and just keep being happy. And it really disconnects people from their emotions and disconnects them from the reality of what happens. And that makes me sad for them, honestly. So they talk about Kody's relationship with his kids. And as you saw in the very beginning, they're still very estranged. But there was some further discussion Here, check this out.
I feel like there would need to be a lot of healing, and I think he actually would probably need to make more than just one phone call or one text. They're not really paying attention to him at this point when he tries to call once and then doesn't call again. I think it could be done. I don't know the person he is now. I don't foresee that. But I mean, everybody changes. It's possible.
It sounds like nothing has changed. You know what I would love? I would love for Christine and Janelle to actually sit down with like some sort of, professional psychologist that has a television show. I don't know who does this anymore. Not like Dr. Phil, he's terrible. But some sort of professional that they could talk through some of these things, because I feel like the questions that are being asked are actually not the questions that I would ask. I have grown up in a home. I grew up with a narcissistic parent, okay? And when I see the estrangement happening here, there's something that narcissists do. And when they don't get what they want and they're not getting what they need and they're not getting the supply they want, they can do one of two things. They can force it or they completely shut you out and they give you the cold shoulder and they don't respond to you and they don't reach out and they don't do it because it's not feeding up their tank. And if you're not going to give them what they need, you're not valuable to them. And if they can't manipulate you to get what they want, they're not going to, keep trying. And the problem here is that there's a couple kids, several kids, honestly, that know exactly what he's doing, right? So they know when he reaches out that he has an agenda. I've heard a lot of them talking on the show using language like they are educating themselves on narcissistic abuse. And they're using terms like gaslighting and deflection and projection and blame shifting and moving goalposts. Those are all things narcissists do. Playing the victim, manipulating, playing games, keeping you unstable in your thoughts, pitting people against each other. I mean, even Janelle in this interview is like, Kody used to always tell me things about Christine, like making her feel a certain way about Christine to try to turn her against Christine. And honestly, I just want to applaud these kids. And I don't say this often because I know this is very hard for them. I know personally it's very hard to live in that kind of world. And I also know how hard it is to go no contact, because you can spend your whole life hoping and wishing and wanting for that person to change. But there's like this peace you have when you actually realize that you don't have to hold on to that hope anymore and that they aren't going to change. And it's okay to let go and it's okay to move on and it's okay to find happiness and acceptance in yourself and in your other loved ones. And it's when you can accept that your parent or whoever your partner isn't going to be who you want them to be, no matter how hard you try, because it's all conditional with narcissists, then you can put up a boundary and say, I'm not going to talk to you, because it doesn't matter what he does. He will never change. He will always be a narcissist. And instead of putting this on Kody, like, is Kody going to do anything to make this change? I wish there would actually be questions about, like, how are your kids doing with the estrangement? How are they handling this? Do they want to have a relationship with their father or do they not? Because maybe it's as simple as these kids don't want to have a relationship with their dad. You know what I mean? And it's clear that Maddie doesn't want to have a relationship with her dad. Peyton doesn't want to have a relationship. Hunter doesn't want to have a relationship. Logan doesn't want to have a relationship. Most of Janelle's kids don't want anything to do with him. Christine's girls are a little bit different. And I think that's why she's not answering those questions. I mean, obviously, Peyton doesn't want anything to do with him, but some of her girls still have some contact with him, although it's very limited. But Kody will never be who they want them to be. He's not going to change. And this idea that he's somehow going to be better, I think it would be better if we all just talked about these elephants in the room, There's so much dancing around things in Mormonism and in fundamentalist Mormonism. They don't ever go deeply because they don't want to offend, and it's all about looking perfect and looking and not lifting the veil of protecting the culture. And even if they leave the church, that indoctrination is hard to leave, and they're so programmed to be positive all the time. And they're so programmed to have the father have to be in charge of things that maybe it's time for them to say things like, you know what, my kids don't want to have a relationship and that's okay. because he's not going to change.
Whatever voice he listens to, whatever it takes, I do hope at some point he's able to sort of overcome this big barrier. But as the time goes by, it just gets bigger and bigger. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then you brought up too, like in the church that we used to belong to, if a guy loses 3 wives in 2 years, that says a lot right there.
It's
So he's
considered
gone
a
through
big failure.
Yeah, so he's gone through a lot. I can't imagine. He's probably at an all-time low.
They touched on very briefly about Robyn saying that she's losing respect for him and encouraging him to speak to the kids. And they didn't really say anything of substance. They just said, well, maybe he'll listen to her. It's really weird because, they said this 2 years ago, right? So Robyn encouraged this to happen in 2022, and it's 2024 and nothing has changed. So it's kind of like you're sitting there like being in an interview would be really weird, to be like having to pretend like your current life isn't happening and you have to talk about your old life because of what's on the show, and then your current life is under contract. Very bizarre. But nothing did change. He didn't listen and he didn't care. And frankly, she only cared about them not reuniting so she could protect the show. I don't really think that Robyn is moving mountains to cause Kody to get back together with his kids. I mean, how many times have we seen videos and photos of the two of them, Kody and Robyn, out with their kids, shopping, acting like nothing's happening in the world, or eating out, or dining with friends, or, living the lavish life that they live, not so much more anymore now that Kody and Robyn are going to finally get what's coming to them legally, hopefully, with this lawsuit with Christine and this vocal fight that's happening on the show, which again, nobody's asking questions about. I think the disservice of the way that the media handles this show is the way that TLC has presented the family has desensitized the wider public to the harm of polygamy. They've turned people from a cult into celebrities, and they have not told the public the truth about the cult. They have not been honest about the sexual abuse, the child sexual abuse, the abuse of the women, the labor trafficking, the human trafficking, the trading of daughters, the women are property, women are chattel. They've not talked about the inherent racism in the cult and the homophobia and the lack of acceptance of other people that are not like them. They've really desensitized the public into thinking that they're just your average run-of-the-mill Christians that love God, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, these are people, and I'm not saying that Christine and Janelle are like this. I hope they're stripping themselves of these tendencies because it's built into them to lie and to cheat and to steal, because they're inherently told that the government is evil, and so they're trying to take down the government through bleeding the beast and ripping people off. I mean, that's what the fundamental foundation of their faith is. So when you're getting out of this mindset, like the public and the media and the reporters are so desensitized, and they're looking at these people like they're celebrities, and they're completely ignoring the fact that there is a complete programming of a cult that is at work here, continuing to promote propaganda that nothing is wrong, everything is fine, protect polygamy, protect, protect, protect. The one person I see deviating from this is always Christine. Christine is more willing to go there and more willing to say things like the church we used to go to, right? She wants to separate herself from that. She doesn't want to be affiliated with it. She clearly says things where she wants people to know this is not her life anymore. Janelle's not there yet, but for Janelle and Christine to maintain a friendship, Christine has to dance on a line where she doesn't offend the faith of Janelle. And that's hard. That's a very hard place for people that are out to maintain relationships with people that are in, because those that are still in, and I know that Janelle's not in the church, but Janelle still believes in polygamy. She has said that she still has a testimony for it. She still believes in the faith. She still would be in a plural marriage if the opportunity would present itself, and that hasn't changed in 2024. So Christine can't be totally that, or she's going to completely offend Janelle, right? And when you talk about these estrangements with the kids, it's like, so we're ignoring the fact that Garrison died. We're ignoring that there was a cult. We're ignoring the fact that kids left the faith, and part of the fundamental argument here between them all is those that have left the faith and those that are still adhering to it. And even though Kody and Robyn claim that they're like, Kody's losing his religion, Kody still is very indoctrinated and still very much living in this patriarchal mindset of like everything he says goes. And even though he isn't participating in the release of the church and he's, still not there at the church, he was in a podcast less than a year ago saying that he would refuse to throw the bathwater, the baby out with the bathwater. He still held on to his Mormon faith because he said it would be too hard to let it all go. So he still has that in him. And as long as he has that in him, those that reject it are not going to be ones he'll deal with. They're wicked, they're evil, they're wrong. And same with Robyn. Robyn, I wholeheartedly still believes in the Mormon faith. She might not wear garments, she might not go to church, but those are just outward things you do, right? Like if you still believe, you still believe. And if she still believes, she still believes. So they may not practice polygamy, but it's still there. And so if the kids don't want to deal with the manipulation of the cult and the brainwashing and the control, of course they're going to stay away from their father. And of course, Kody and Robyn are going to shun those and protect their kids from the evil, wicked other kids that don't want to abide by their rules. When Kody found Robyn, he found someone that was very devout in her faith, that wanted to protect her kids from the evil outsiders. And he also saw someone that was willing and giving him the go-ahead to be in control. Whereas the other women were not like that. They're like, no, we're done letting you boss us around. So with Robyn letting him boss her around, even though she controls things, right, in her own way, he and her have become more insulated and isolated from everyone because it's them against the world now. If they actually spoke about honestly, okay, listen, we're deconstructing, we're leaving our faith, and they just threw out this concept that they actually had to protect polygamy and protect the brand, I think more people would tune in, because right now the ratings for this season are terrible. Losing their audience because it didn't start out well. Let's just say the first episode had 937,000 viewers. That was down from 1.7 million that watched Christine's wedding. And then the next week, it was down to it was up to 975,000. 29th, which was the episode where McKelty had her baby and Christine and Robyn briefly reunite. Not a lot happened in that. Got 1.14. And then last week's episode was down and they lost 100,000 and it was 1.036. This last year was pulling in 1.7, 1.8, some episodes. I mean, I think season 19 debuted at over 2 million, or 18 debuted at 2 million maybe. They're losing audiences. It's still a highly rated show for TLC, but overall it's down. And it's down because they're not in reality. They're too far behind. They're not actually talking about what's actually happening. They're dancing around subjects. They're ignoring topics. They're regurgitating the same lies, like Mary and the divorce and Kody berating the wives and Kody and Robyn constantly lying. Christine and Janelle are doing their best to try to carry it and be honest, but they're also, I think, trying to move on. And everyone is so disconnected. The show doesn't even feel like a family. And they're not addressing that we're deconstructing, we're leaving the cult. Like, how many of you would actually tune in if that was what they talked about? Like, I'm done with polygamy. I'm over it. Like, this was a cult. This is so effed up. Like, we are messed up, right? Like, they actually admitted the trauma that's going on. We all know the trauma happened. We know it because the kids are talking about it, but it's not addressed on the show. And then Garrison's now not here and it's not addressed on the show. We haven't gotten there yet. I don't know how it'll be addressed. McKelty already said she's not happy with how they're covering it. And Christine and Janelle are doing their best to protect their brand. And it's like, if it keeps going like this, they're going to keep losing their audience because it's not authentic. Because in the earlier days, they were able to they were able to keep their secrets better, but now that their kids are adults, they're not keeping their secrets anymore, right? So the public is onto it. And this is not a criticism whatsoever to Janelle and Christine. It's a criticism to the way that the show is being produced. And it's a criticism to Kody and Robyn. And a criticism to the fact that, like, if they want to maintain their audience, they have to start getting real, because this is only like scratching the surface of real. Show us the truth about why this was so hard for you. Tell us what actually was the dogma that didn't work for you, and actually deconstruct and show us how you're doing it. People would tune in to see that. I know they would. They're interested in those kinds of stories. They're not interested in seeing everyone playing pretend and dancing around topics. That's just my 2 cents. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, everyone.